There is something I've been struggling with in my personal life lately. It's this idea of restorative justice, the idea of allowing people back into your life that have harmed you in the past. It's something that just like it's been on my mind a lot lately. And there's this one Bible passage that kept popping into my head. And it didn't matter what I did. This is what keeps coming through my head. And this is the verse that popped in, and I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to talk about the rest of the passage after that. So this is the part that I always was taught about in school, or in church and school, actually. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times. Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. And then if you skip all the way to the end of this passage, he says that, this is how my Heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother from your heart. When we taught about this passage, when we learned about it in church, that was the focus. That was the fixation. It was, you have to forgive people. Doesn't matter what they do to you. It doesn't matter how bad a person they are. It doesn't matter how they treat you. You have to forgive everybody, because if you don't, God's not going to forgive you. There's another lesson, I think, here, and this is what's weighing on me today. So after that first part where he says forgive 70 times 7, Jesus continues, therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had were to be sold to repay the debt. The servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him, canceled the debt, and let him go. If I can turn the page, that'd be great. But when the servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owed me. Now, just to kind of put this into perspective, another translation says he owed the king 10,000 bags of gold. And this man that he's currently beating and demanding payback from owed him 100 silver. So there's obviously a huge difference in that. So his fellow servant fell to his knees and begged him, be patient with me, and I will pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he went off and had the man thrown in prison until he could repay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were greatly distressed and went and told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I canceled all your debt because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? In anger, his master turned him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all that he owed. This is how my Heavenly Father will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother from your heart. So the middle part of this passage, we always fixate on the first part and the last part. Always forgive everybody, otherwise God's not going to forgive you. But this middle part has so much to it that we just ignore. The king forgave this guy of all of this stuff that he did. And the guy turned around and continued to treat other people like garbage. He made peace with the king, but he treated everybody else like shit. He made amends with the king, but he continued to act poorly towards other people. And so the king said, you know what, fuck you, and threw him in jail. The king said, I forgave you of all of this stuff, and you turned around and you took that and you just acted terribly and destroyed the lives of other people. We didn't talk about that part in church. We didn't talk about that part in Christian schools. We didn't talk about that part in our Bible studies. All we talked about was forgive, forgive, forgive. Forgive and move on. But there's a whole other part of this. Because that forgiveness, that restoration, that restorative justice means that that person has to work to make amends, but they don't just have to make amends with you. They have to be willing to treat other people with respect, other people with dignity, other people properly. If they're treating everybody around you like garbage, why are you fixing things? Why are you trying to make amends with those people? You don't owe people forgiveness that continue to treat other people like crap. Just because someone comes to you and says, I'm sorry for the way I treated you, doesn't mean that they're better people. It means that they're apologetic for whatever it is that they did, but it doesn't mean that they're being better towards everyone else. And I feel like in today's society, with everything going on, this is very important, because it's going to be a conversation that we're going to start having more and more often. We're going to have conversations more and more. Are people putting in the work to be better people and to find real redemption? Or are they just sorry and trying to be friends again, trying to be family again, trying to be a coworker that you used to be close with, trying to be a brother or a sister in the case of this passage? At what point do you allow people back into your life? And at what point do you recognize that they're not actually pushing for redemption and restoration? And just with the way that the world is today, this is something that we're going to have to face, and it's going to be a lot of hard conversations. It's going to be a lot of harsh conversations. And it's going to be a lot of broken hearts. And it's going to be a lot of brokenness. And it's going to come with a lot of times when restoration just isn't possible.